Long ago, in a peaceful kingdom surrounded by rolling meadows and silver streams, there lived a humble merchant and his gentle wife. Their home was modest, yet it was always filled with laughter, warmth, and love. After many years of longing, they were finally blessed with a child, a daughter. They named her Cyndrella, meaning light of the hearth. From the moment she learned to walk, the girl moved through the world with softness. She spoke kindly to servants, shared her bread with children in the village, and listened more than she spoke. Her mother would often sit beside her at the window and say, "Beauty may catch the eye, my child, but kindness is what stays in the heart." Cyndrella believed those words. She lived by them. Even as a child, she noticed the sadness in others. When a servant was tired, she offered water. When a bird fell from its nest, she gently returned it. When her father returned weary from long journeys, she welcomed him with a smile that made his burdens feel lighter. Their home was never rich in gold, but it was rich in love. But happiness, as the world so often teaches, can be fragile. When Cyndrella was still young, her mother fell ill. The light in her eyes faded slowly, like a candle burning low. One quiet night, as rain tapped against the windows and shadows danced on the walls, her mother called Cyndrella to her side. She held her daughter's small hands and whispered with the last of her strength, "No matter how the world treats you, never let it change who you are. Kindness will guide you where power cannot." Cyndrella pressed her face into her mother's palm, tears falling silently. That night, the world became a colder place. Her father mourned deeply, but life demanded that he continue. The house, once filled with gentle laughter, grew quieter. Cyndrella still helped in every way she could, setting the table, comforting servants, tending the garden. She did not know that the greatest trial of her heart was yet to come. Years passed. Loneliness weighed heavily on Cyndrella's father, and so, hoping to bring stability to their home, he remarried. The woman he brought home was elegant in appearance, with sharp eyes and a voice that carried command. She arrived with her two daughters, Lavinia and Maribel. At first, the stepmother was polite. She smiled in public. She praised the household in front of guests. She spoke kindly when others were watching, but when the doors closed, something changed. Her words grew colder, her patience shorter, her eyes always measuring worth in silk and gold. Cyndrella's father soon left on long journeys for trade. On one such journey, he never returned, and with his absence, Cyndrella's world transformed completely. The stepmother took control of the household. Cyndrella's fine dresses were given to her stepsisters. Her warm bedroom was exchanged for a small attic beside the hearth. Her days, once filled with simple joy, became endless labor. She rose before sunrise. She swept floors blackened with soot. She scrubbed pots until her hands cracked. She cooked, cleaned, washed, and carried until night swallowed the day. Ashes from the fireplace dusted her hair and clothes, and so they began to call her Cyndrella, the girl of cinders. Lavinia and Maribel mocked her constantly. "Look at her hands," they laughed. "She belongs with the servants. She should be grateful we allow her in our home." But Cyndrella never answered with cruelty. She spoke gently to the birds who visited the window. She shared crumbs with the mice. She whispered comfort to the old dog who lay by the fire. Even when her heart ached, she chose kindness, and though tears sometimes fell into the ashes, she never forgot her mother's words. One bright spring morning, the sound of trumpets echoed through the kingdom. A royal messenger rode into every village, unfurling a scroll. By order of His Majesty the King, a grand royal ball shall be held at the palace. The prince shall choose his bride from among the maidens of the land. All are invited. Excitement swept through the kingdom like fire through dry grass. In Cyndrella's home, her stepsisters shrieked with delight. Cyndrella sank beside the hearth. For the first time in many years, she allowed herself to cry freely. But even through her tears, she whispered, "My mother said, kindness would never abandon me." At that moment, the room filled with a gentle glow. Before her stood a radiant figure, her fairy godmother. "Cyndrella," she said softly, "your goodness has been seen, and tonight you shall go to the ball." With a wave of her wand, a pumpkin became a golden carriage. Mice transformed into strong white horses. Lizards became finely dressed footmen. Mice transformed into strong white horses. Lizards became finely dressed footmen, and Cyndrella's worn dress shimmered into a gown of silver blue, glowing like moonlight. On her feet appeared delicate glass slippers. "But remember," the fairy godmother warned, "this magic will fade at midnight. When the clock strikes 12, you must leave." Cyndrella looked at her reflection, not in pride, but in disbelief, and with a grateful heart, she stepped into the carriage. The palace glowed with thousands of lights. Music flowed through golden halls. Laughter echoed beneath crystal chandeliers. When Cyndrella entered, the room fell silent. Her beauty was not loud, not proud, but gentle, luminous, unforgettable. The prince noticed her at once. He had grown weary of flattery, of shallow words and glittering appearances. But when he looked at Cyndrella, he saw something different. He approached her and bowed. "May I have this dance?" They danced as though the world had faded away. They spoke of dreams, of kindness, of what it meant to rule not with power, but with compassion. For the first time in her life, Cyndrella felt truly seen. But then, the clock began to chime. 11. Her heart raced. 12. She gasped. "I must go," she whispered. She fled down the marble stairs, and in her haste, one glass slipper slipped from her foot. The prince ran after her, but she had vanished into the night. The next morning, the prince held the glass slipper in his hands. "I will marry only the one whose foot fits this shoe," he declared. Messengers traveled from house to house. When they reached Cyndrella's home, the stepmother locked her in the attic. Lavinia tried first too large, Maribel next too small. As the attendants turned to leave, a soft voice called, "May I try?" Cyndrella descended the stairs in her simple clothes. The slipper fit perfectly. She reached into her pocket and revealed the second slipper. The truth was undeniable. The prince knelt before her. "It is you," he said. "Not just the girl from the ball, but the one my heart chose." Cyndrella did not look at her stepfamily with anger, only quiet dignity. The stepmother, exposed for her cruelty, lost her power. The stepsisters, humbled, were forced to live honestly. Cyndrella was finally free. Cyndrella became not just a princess, but a queen of compassion. She built schools for the poor, shelters for the forgotten, and always remembered the hearth where her journey began. Whenever she passed a fireplace, she smiled, because she knew, no matter how deep the ashes, a kind heart will always rise into the light. And so, Cyndrella's story reminds us, kindness outlives cruelty, patience overcomes pride, and the gentlest hearts often wear the greatest crowns.